These quotes are some commonly voiced concerns shared by middle and high school educators across the country, especially nowadays. If you have similar concerns about your students, you are not alone. While self-regulation is integral to in-school and post-school success, many of our students still struggle to demonstrate self-regulation consistently. The purpose of this short session is to increase your understanding of what self-regulation is and why it is important, show you a few instructional practices to promote it in your students, and let you know about some upcoming professional development. Why teach self-regulation? Self-regulation refers to a proactive, self-directed process for attaining goals, learning skills, managing emotional reactions, and accomplishing tasks. For adults and youth, self-regulation can be applied to mastering a skill, focusing on a specific task while avoiding distractions, completing quality work on time, sustaining focus on a goal across the year, and self-care and self-calming behaviors. Let's watch a brief video overview about self-regulation that was made for teachers. As you listen, jot down key concepts.
Have you ever planned to get up at 6 a.m. but ended up rolling out of bed at 9? Have you ever had 2 weeks to complete a research assignment and then panicked 3 days before it was due because you hadn't put anything down on paper yet? Have you ever said something hurtful when you were angry and later regretted it? Have you ever had a plan to read for 30 minutes, but instead of concentrating on the book, you kept checking your phone? If you were practicing self-regulation in each of these situations, you would identify what was going wrong and then make adjustments to successfully complete your plan. Self-regulation doesn't occur when you merely create a plan to succeed. You also have to monitor how that plan is going, address obstacles with new approaches, and apply what you've learned to future planning. For instance, here are some ways you might use self-regulation in the previous examples. If you regularly snooze through your alarm, you might move the clock across the room so you have to get out of bed to turn it off. If you usually put off long-term projects until the last minute, you might start by making several short-term goals with clear deadlines and then checking off each task after you complete it. To self-regulate your emotional reaction, you might make a plan to notice the physiological symptoms of anger and then apply a strategy like taking a few deep breaths before you respond. If you have trouble focusing on your reading, you might put your phone in Do Not Disturb mode for a predetermined period of time. Self-regulation is an individual's ability to intentionally or purposefully act. Self-regulation refers to proactively applying self-directed processes, cognitive behaviors, and emotions to attain your goals and skills. It helps you maintain control over your actions, evaluate the effectiveness of behavior strategies, and stay motivated towards achieving your goal. Researchers have found that self-regulation can be taught. Students who practice self-regulation complete more homework, get better grades, and learn more than students who do not frequently apply self-regulation strategies. In addition, research shows that the frequency of self-regulation can predict a student's academic achievement. Self-regulation involves students planning and articulating what they want to accomplish, monitoring their progress and identifying any obstacles they encounter, taking control and making changes when things are not going as planned, and reflecting on what went well and what they could do differently next time. To help students learn about self-regulation, teachers can introduce and define self-regulation and have students identify examples of how self-regulation can be used in different contexts. But for students to fully develop self-regulation, they must also be given opportunities to practice in a variety of contexts, with support from teachers and others as necessary. For example, an English teacher might ask students to independently create a plan to read a book and write a book report. This plan could include the number of pages a student will read each day, where and when the reading will occur, how notes will be taken to ensure comprehension, and what strategies the students will use to manage distractions. Periodically, the teacher will ask the students to check in on their progress. Monitoring might include questions such as, have you read as much of the book as you had planned to by today's date? If not, what's getting in the way? How can you get back on track? Once students identify where their plan is going off track, the teacher can support them in developing strategies, such as specifying a time each day to read or reading aloud to a sibling, to help them get back on track and reach their identified milestones. The teacher might also use this opportunity to have students discuss strategies that are working well or that they plan to try. Along with the book report, students might reflect on their self-regulation, including how closely they were able to follow their plan, what strategies helped them stay on track, and what they could do in the future to better reach their goals. While instruction on self-regulation might be tied to a specific project or assignment, teachers can also embed opportunities to practice each component throughout their class. To support planning, teachers might ask students to write a detailed plan for something they want to accomplish in a certain period of time, then have them monitor that performance. Teachers can regularly facilitate discussions about strategies for controlling distractions or getting back on track. They can include reflective exercises in their class, such as journaling or asking students to consider how they studied for a certain test. The more opportunities that students have to practice these components of planning, monitoring, taking control and making changes, and reflecting, the better prepared they will be to independently use them in a variety of contexts. The ability to self-regulate is important for student success both in and out of school. While we may regularly use self-regulation strategies in some contexts without intentionally thinking about them, many students need instruction on self-regulation. Beyond that, they then need supported practice to use self-regulation strategies and evaluate the effectiveness of these strategies. Through improved self-regulation, students can become more independent in attaining their goals, completing specific tasks, and managing their emotional reactions.
Consider a time when you've tried to eat healthier, exercise more, drink more water, or save money. Consider when you were more successful versus less successful. What made the difference? Likely, when you experience success, you address the 4 components of self-regulation, which are 1. Make a plan for what you want to accomplish. 2. Immediately monitor progress and interference regarding your goal. 3. Adjust by implementing specific strategies when things are not going as planned. And 4. Reflect on what worked and what you could do better next time. Now consider each component related to a past unrealized goal. Did you have a plan to eat healthier, but your plan lacked specificity? Did you forget to consistently monitor your plan? Did something get you off track, like an illness or an unexpected financial burden? If you weren't successful, it's likely that you didn't address all 4 components of self-regulation. Like you saw in the video, self-regulation doesn't just help low-achieving students, those who struggle with certain subjects, or those who display undesirable behaviors. Practicing self-regulation is important for all of us. At some point, we all encounter obstacles or difficulties in achieving a goal or completing a task. By applying the self-regulation process, we are empowered to overcome obstacles and improve at anything we aspire to achieve. Why should we teach self-regulation in secondary education and earlier? Review these research-identified and teacher-reported impacts of self-regulation. Which ones would you like to see in your students? With instruction and practice, students can learn and apply the self-directed process of self-regulation to attain both academic and personal goals, learn new skills, manage complex emotions, and accomplish challenging tasks. Research has shown us that self-regulation skills do not simply arise on their own. Rather, they must be purposefully learned. Consider this slide, which relates results from the Competency Framework Needs Assessment, which lists the intrapersonal and interpersonal competencies with definitions and asks students to determine the degree to which they demonstrate that skill. Results across grades and genders consistently show that students feel the need to develop self-regulation and sustained attention as a top priority. Students are asking for instruction and practice self-regulating. If our students struggle with self-regulation, we often regulate for them. Having trouble staying focused? Sit right here and complete your homework. Don't remember what homework is due? Let me write it out for you. Lost your worksheet? Here's another copy. Alternatively, we sometimes think that natural consequences teach desired behaviors. Didn't do your homework? You earned a 0. These common educator responses are missed opportunities to teach students how to self-regulate. When we provide instruction and intentionally create opportunities to guide students' practice, we gradually shift responsibility, working to build the capacity of students to enact their own plans for success. While self-regulation is an internal, reflective process, we can teach students a set of skills that empowers them to self-regulate. In addition to planning to help students develop the ability to effectively self-regulate, we also need to teach them to monitor their progress, adjust their efforts with specific strategies if things aren't going according to the original plan, and apply meaningful reflection. Students can expand their abilities to self-regulate through instruction and integration within content area learning and experiences. Students develop self-regulation skills the same way they develop skills in math or reading, by learning through direct instruction, opportunities for practice, and feedback consistently provided across time. What does it look like when a secondary student self-regulates? Let's listen to Izzy talk about self-regulation.
Hi, my name's Izzy and I'm a senior in high school. Similar to others, my school has transferred to an online continuous learning plan due to the COVID-19 pandemic. With this being my graduation year, passing and doing well in classes is very important. To do so, I'm going to use self-regulation. Self-regulation is a proactive, self-directed process for attaining goals, learning skills, managing emotional reactions, and accomplishing tasks. Being proactive means planned ahead of time, not last minute. Self-directed means on your own. Nobody is making you do something. Process means actions put together over time to make progress towards a goal. This is where you actually achieve your goal and what you have been working toward. Self-regulation can be used in all areas of life, including school, sports, jobs, chores, and emotions. For example, if you're a basketball player and were only able to make 25% of free throws in the last game, self-regulation could help you get better. You could plan practice time just for free throws and monitor the amount of time you actually practiced and your free throw percentage, like how many you can shoot out of 10, at the end of each practice. If you're not improving as quickly as you hoped, adjust your plan by getting advice from teammates or coaches on your form. Reflect on your efforts to improve your free throw percentage and your performance in games.
When students self-regulate, they apply the 4 components of self-regulation to numerous situations in order to attain goals, learn skills, manage emotional reactions, and accomplish tasks. Here are a few examples of common things students work to self-regulate. Getting to school or work on time, saving money for a big purchase, focusing attention on a task, responding calmly when frustrated, getting homework done, exercising regularly. As students learn to expand how and what they self-regulate, they construct an understanding of important concepts and skills which can be applied to numerous contexts, including academics. Consider the sequence of self-regulation knowledge and skill development. Which of these abilities can you already observe in the majority of your students? Which ones are lacking? Pause here if you'd like to read it carefully. If students entered middle or high school demonstrating these behaviors, how would your classroom operate? What would it sound like, feel like? When educators purposely teach self-regulation, it impacts not only the student's ability to create plans, monitor learning, manage distractions, but also the classroom and school as a whole. This sequence of skill development helps educators solidify instruction and observe their students' growth. It is aligned with instructional activities and assessments available at cccframework.org, developed by Drs. Patty Noonan and Amy Gomer Erickson. What does this look like in a classroom? Let's listen to Rachel Long talk about teaching self-regulation in her online geometry course.
Hi, this is Rachel Long. For my virtual geometry class, I provided instruction in 4 live class sessions. We covered the 4 steps of self-regulation and then spent some time on brainstorming a plan for that first day of the geometry unit. The second session, we reviewed the steps for self-regulation again and discussed the need for monitoring the plan, followed by another session where we discussed making changes to the plan. We finished the 4th session reflecting on how the unit went with the plan in place and considered what would be changed to improve for the next plan. While in live class, I talked about their interest, the students' interest, what they enjoyed doing, and hobbies where they were self-regulating without much thought, probably, and how sometimes when we're in a course or maybe it's an area of our life where we are more challenged, we tend to not self-regulate, actually lose those strategies, which we could benefit the most from at those times when we are challenged. So I had students share areas in their life where they do self-regulate and plans that they thought should be put into place for the success of their geometry course, specifically the unit we were working on. During each session, students shared ways that they were self-regulating in the geometry unit in regards to each step and how they were doing. This unit that I had them working in was actually 10 days long, so self-regulation was really well done with that academic success log. They made their plan the first 2 days of the unit, which one of those we were talking in live class. They monitored for the next 3 days. Again, we had another live class to talk about their monitoring and how that was going. And then the next 3 days, they were making changes, which we had another live class to talk about those. And then the final 2 days of the unit, they were using to reflect, which again, we had another class session to talk about that process as well. So I really enjoyed working with them in the live class sessions, but mostly love seeing the details that they were putting in on their academic success logs that they turned into me at the end of the unit. I saw more about their individual lives and challenges than I typically get to see in my content students. That usually comes more with the homeroom students that I'm more looking at the whole student across the board, how everything's going, and making changes that way, more of an advisory role versus the content students. So this was fantastic for my content students virtually, something that I was able to do in the brick and mortar room, but kind of had stepped away from. So really enjoyed this activity and seeing the detail that they gave me about their lives and challenges they were facing. While some students were and are happy to share in class, be transparent online, most of my students are very shy. They're withdrawn. You feel like you're trying to get things out of them. And this activity really helped them loosen up and helped me see them more clearly. They could identify their struggles without apologizing for them and show how they were working to overcome distractions, their lack of focus and understanding, and then how they plan to strive for success. And I was excited to see their responsibility, their problem-solving strategies in regards to taking on a challenging course. Also enjoyed seeing them take control of their success and feel confident of the path they had chosen. I could see their hope and determination, and it empowered me as a teacher to cheer them on and encourage them to complete their goals. Really did help. So I was excited to see it.
Ongoing practice can be embedded into any course, any extracurricular activity, or any life experience. When all educators in a school facilitate practice and self-regulation, student responsibility becomes ingrained into school culture. In our work, teaching the instructional practices, both teachers and students have observed measurable impacts. Teachers across subject areas have seen positive outcomes, including improved test scores in science, increased engagement with high-quality essays and language arts, increased quality of artwork and engagement in art, and both improved grades and more accurate predictions of the time necessary to complete homework in math. Educators have reported improved learning and more on-time project submissions with a better understanding of the historical events in social studies, increased initiative and self-confidence in phys ed, and improved course grades in world languages. Special ed teachers have observed students with disabilities displaying better organization and time on task. And when asked, students said they had more control over their learning and academic success. They talked about feeling less stressed. Students better understood how their actions directly impacted their performance in school, and their engagement, motivation, and learning improved. How do we teach our students to self-regulate? Self-regulation, like all intrapersonal or interpersonal competencies, isn't an innate trait. It's a teachable set of skills. One way to help students self-regulate in the remote or hybrid learning environment is to help them create a plan for their own success. This plan should address a variety of questions, helping each student make decisions about where to work, how to manage their time, which tasks to prioritize, methods to reduce or eliminate distractions, and how to monitor their efforts. While it is beneficial for students to discuss options together, each student must personalize his or her plan. A template for planning learning from home is provided, but as students become more proficient in their planning, they will likely determine other tools or templates that promote their success. Students consistently say the planning is difficult, so don't be surprised when initial plans lack specificity. Use questions and group discussions to help students determine holes in their plans and identify ways to take ownership over their learning. Once plans are developed, students will likely need to be prompted to monitor their actions and progress, consistently reflecting on whether they are following their plan, is the plan working, and are there adjustments that need to be made. Along with academic planning, it's important for students to plan strategies to help them focus and feel calm. Multiple strategies are outlined in the Learning from Home resource on self-regulation found on the homepage at cccframework.org. These strategies can be incorporated into students' plans to relieve stress and reduce anxiety. Let's return to Izzy and see how she planned for learning from home.
I am now going to make my own plan to help me complete my online physics work for the week. My teacher gives many assignments, quizzes, and tests, making it hard to keep track of what is due for the week. I am keeping in mind my plan needs to be extremely detailed. I'm making a list of assignments and time to study. Other things I will include in my plan is common distractions and solutions for when they occur. Although my plan will only be for one class, it is possible to plan for all classes. The teacher posts the weekly assignments on Monday morning. The first step in my plan is to wake up 8 a.m. Monday morning and list out all of my assignments. This week I have 3 assignments, 1 quiz, and 1 test, and I have to work on a long-term assignment that is due in 2 weeks. All of my work other than the long-term project are due Sunday night, so I will not have to worry about midweek due dates. For my project, I will follow the plan I made when it was assigned 2 months ago. My goal for this week is to complete the prototype for my solar-powered doghouse swamp cooler. My next step is to read through each assignment and list them in order of any I might need help with first, then to any that might take the most time to the least time. I start with any I need help with because Zoom office hours are only on Tuesday, so that is my best opportunity to ask questions. I'm putting together a schedule. My schedule includes starting homework at 8:30 a.m. and working till 11 a.m. every day. I'm also including which assignments I'm going to finish each day and which concepts I'm going to study for the tests and quizzes. Next, I'm adding in any common distractions. The biggest distractions I have are my phone and lack of motivation, so I'm including them in the plan. If my phone is distracting me, I will put it across the room on silent. If I'm lacking motivation, I will take a short break for a quick snack or possibly a short walk. I am scheduling to get all of my work done by Thursday. Having an extra day means if I fall behind or get off schedule, I won't have to worry about not making the due date. Now it's time for me to get to work.
Our charge as educators is to meet our students' learning needs. To this end, teachers around the world are embracing social emotional learning. We encourage you to help your students improve their self-regulation with these evidence-based instructional activities. Through our work with thousands of middle and high school teachers, we have witnessed growth in the ability of students to self-regulate, resulting in increased learning, goal attainment, and pro-social behaviors. To explore instructional activities, go to ksdetasn.org/competency and sign up for a 6-week virtual learning experience in the fall, spring, or summer, which includes the lessons and student workbook. In this facilitator-led course, you will discuss various activities with other Kansas teachers and receive input from a trainer throughout. You'll leave with a plan of how you'll support your students in improving self-regulation. Self-regulation fuels adolescents to become socially and emotionally engaged, career-equipped, lifelong learners. Thank you.